Let's show these bastards what the Colonial Marines are about. Kill on sight.
Hello, this is going to be, well, I guess Recoils Rumour Mill tonight. Anyway, so Aliens Colonial Marines has been released. It's had some shocking reviews. I'll talk about what I feel about the game later on. But basically, there was some shocking developments recently about the development of the game. Some people were saying one thing, other people were saying another. And one of the theories is that due to some posts on Reddit from apparently some employees from Gearbox and Timegate Studios, one of the studios that got outsourced, Aliens Colonial Marines got outsourced to, have turned around and said that basically Gearbox didn't give a shit about Colonial Marines during development. They used funds for Colonial Marines given to them by Sega, the publisher, to basically be used on their Borderlands series, which was coming out during development of Colonial Marines. Personally, I don't know, I think that that's bollocks as far as the funding goes, because as a developer, if you want to work with publishers on their IPs rather than just in-house IPs as a developer, then you're going to need the publishers to trust you. And if you're taking money off them and just stealing it away from them and using it for your own IPs, then they're not going to trust you. I mean, if this all came out and became confirmed, then any publisher looking to hire a quality studio to, say, do I don't know, any series, Predator, The Thing, anything that's been a movie, that the publisher's known for. If Activision wanted to bring in a new developer for a new Call of Duty game, the last person they would look at is like the untrustworthy bastards that stole Sega's money or anyone's money to use on an IP that was not the intent of them giving them the cash in the first place. It's a breach of contract, straight up. So Gearbox from then on would probably only be able to work on their own original IPs. It would completely screw them as a developer, and they are, even though they've been around for like 14 years now they are an up-and-coming developer, and they have had some good work come out of them. But the other theory is where they picked up Duke Nukem Forever last year, which was a catastrophic failure. Most of the game was built before they got it. It was really a 3D Realms game. They just sort of stapled what they had together and released it because, well, it'd been in development hell for so long. They just wanted to put the game out, and I think Randy Pitchford knew some of the 3D Realms guys on a personal basis from where he worked from before, I heard. But in either case, that game was obviously one of the biggest gaming failures in history, aside from E.T. back in the 80s. So yeah, they're already developing Borderlands 2 at the time, and they were drawing up some ideas and I think kicking off the beginning of development for the next Brother in Arms games. So you've got Brothers in Arms, Borderlands, Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines for one developer. So meanwhile, they've already had extensions on the deadlines that Sega allowed them beforehand. So you got Sega breathing down their necks, threatening legal action. This is, as another room has it, they're threatening legal action against them for not basically releasing the game in time, breaching their contract. So what they did is they outsourced Colonial Marines sometime after Duke Nukem Forever because it took too much time. They had delays on Duke Nukem Forever for a couple of months, and people went mental about that. So I don't think they actually intended to spend so much time on Duke Nukem. I think they didn't think that they needed to with so much of the game already built, but it was bugged. So they spent a lot of time debugging it. And obviously that cut into Aliens Colonial Marines development time. So they outsourced it to these guys, 4 different developers. And I think when they got it back, something happened, because they had this Red Ring engine, which was amazing, particle effects, lighting mainly, a complete remodelling of the Unreal Engine, like just using it as a base model. And it was using deferred lighting, which is a next gen technique, which hasn't been used yet because obviously it didn't make it into the game. But obviously, when they got the engine back, like the game and the engine back off of these 3 developers, it somehow broke the engine. This is the rumour. It broke the engine, or something went wrong, like catastrophically, and like 80% of the campaign went missing. The game was buggy as hell. So, Gearbox got their final extension down off of Sega, the last one they was going to allow, which is obviously when they was due to release it in autumn last year. In the fall, it didn't happen because of this, and they got an extension for February. And in that time, they spent stapling the game back together and getting rid of any progression bugs, mainly in the game, so you didn't have any point in the game where you just stop and not be able to progress any further in the campaign and the challenges and everything else. And apparently that's what they've been doing for those past few months. It makes sense to me, because they were announcing 16 to 20 hour long campaign originally, and this is before fall last year. They were saying this like E3 summer, when we saw those great demos. They said, 20 hour campaign, all these story elements. They were saying that the writer was saying, oh yeah, there's like these new alien types like the Spitter, but you're going to see exactly what purpose the Spitter has with the Hive, and people were like rumouring that they were the ones that created the Hive structure, and loads of other things. And apparently it was going to be different, more xenotypes than what they'd shown, and we never saw them. Aside from that, there's if you look on various websites like IMDb, loads, but IMDb is like the easiest one to find. You can see that they had another character in the campaign called Wierzbowski, who, if you remember, there was a character called Wierzbowski in the film. He was a private, but there's no rank next to his name, and everyone was figuring, because Wierzbowski is dead, that it would be a relative, like a cousin of Wierzbowski, that appears in the game at some point and has some story element to him. And there was another character who was actually played, I can't remember the actor's name now, played by the actor that played Lieutenant Gorman in the film. I mean, everyone remembers Gorman. But he was meant to play like a colonel or general, like high-ranking officer, but above Cruz. Cruz was like, going to be saluting him and all that. He was meant to be essentially the commander of the ship Sephora in the campaign, and you never saw him. He never appears at all. There's all these loads of things that just didn't appear in the game that was promised, and we all know that a lot of things that were promised, gameplay wise as well, did go missing. I think this rumour is true, not the one with the Gearbox don't care and they're evil and use the money on Aliens Colonial Marines on Borderlands because they're an evil company and all that. I think that's crap. I think that they had a really hard time during development because some bad choices made in the acquiring of Duke Nukem Forever and the amount of games that they was developing at the time. They basically had a real bad human resources fault and overestimated their capabilities as a developer and weren't making deadlines and got in some companies to ban them out, and it didn't work and it completely screwed them over. That's what I think. Saying that, so there's these rumours now as well since release that it was on Twitter or something came out, so I think there might be there is some truth in this, but it's not what as epic as what it said. An 8 GB patch to basically replace most of the game and fix all the bugs, and there are bugs. There's no game-breaking bugs, but there are noticeable bugs. You can't get past them if you know how. So yeah, this patch is supposed to fix all the bugs. An 8 GB site is bigger than the actual game. The game's like 6 GB worth of memory, so that's 2 GB more. It's a lot of patch there. There hasn't been a patch that big for any game. So this is what I think. Obviously, they're going to patch the game at some point. All online multiplayers do get patches. Some single-player games get patches and updates as well. If it was going to be 8 gig, which I doubt, it would come out as a series of patches, not one big, solid, raw monster patch. Don't make sense. It takes too long, whereas they could just release a series of patches over the course of the year and get the game up to scratch. So, yeah, we've got apparently a lot of patch work going to be going on. Aside from that, there is also a rumour, which may or may not be true, considering the 80% of missing campaign being put back into the game after release. I'd say if they did that, it'd probably be attached to the season pass. The planned DLC, I mean, bar rights should be free, but the planned DLC will be there, but they'll just sort of slap on these campaign missions that was supposed to be in the game with Gorman's character and all that's missing. Just sort of slapped on there for free on top of what they already planned to sell, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. They've got to find a way to make some money back. That's just a realistic way of looking at it. So that's interesting. I would like to see that because I do like this game. to be honest. That is my personal opinion. I like the game. If I have to rate it as a reviewer with all the flaws, all the bugs and disappointment, I'd say this game is a 5 or 6 at the most out of 10. But if I had to rate it on just purely the amount of fun I've had playing this game with friends online, then I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9. 9 at the most. Like, no more than that. Probably like an 8, really. Because I've had some really good fun with it. Up the difficulty level, try to ignore the AI companions because they're useless. I haven't really noticed because I ignore them most of the time anyway. If they die, they die. I don't really care. But yeah, so those are the rumours. Any thoughts on these at all would be great. I'd like to see some kind of confirmation from Gearbox, to be fair, as to what they're doing. Oh, also, lastly, there was hints in the campaign as to Hicks. He says, the guy that got into his pod, that's a longer story. I'm not going to explain that. And spoiler warning, whatever. Season Pass DLC, campaign DLC, can see that coming as a prelude to the game. Could be good. So yeah, and that's all I have to say really. And I've run out of time, so maybe I'll do another video. We'll see. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.